Donald Trump doesn't actually want us talking about Charlie Kirk. Now, that may run counter to how Donald Trump and the rest of the MAGA movement has sounded over the past week, but it's true. They only want us having a conversation that lionizes Kirk or gives Donald Trump a permission structure to expand his authoritarian project. But actually talking about what he believed and what he said, oh no, they want us to shut up, especially when we have breaking news about a leaked connection between Trump and the killer that exposes one of the biggest lies that they are telling us right now. Yes, news about this alleged assailant is blowing up Donald Trump's narrative and his attack on our free speech. We are going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into this breaking news out of Bloomberg, I want to start with what Donald Trump's real focus around Charlie Kirk is, that's suppressing our speech, and Senator Murphy called it out right here.
Last night, they showed us exactly how serious they are. Trump's FCC forced a major network to pull a loud Trump critic, Jimmy Kimmel, off the air, essentially saying that any media actor that doesn't say what Trump wants them to say about Charlie Kirk or Trump's policies is going to be silenced. That's censorship. That's state speech control. That's not America. Trump is making it 100% clear that he is going to ramp up his efforts to use the power of the federal government to harass and punish his critics, not because they're supporters of political violence, they are not, but because they have the audacity to openly oppose his policies. This is a standard format for every budding despot. That's why we are going to be introducing, in both the Senate and the House, the No Political Enemies Act. It builds real consequences for government officials when they use the power of the government to target speech that is protected by the First Amendment. And it gives an ability to recover attorney's fees when someone is the subject of government harassment. This is a decision moment for the country.
This is how we should be responding. If Donald Trump wants to talk about political violence, maybe take steps to prevent it. Maybe don't pardon cop-beating January 6th insurrectionists. Maybe don't rile up your actually violent base against the left more broadly, or people of color. All we've seen is universities that are historically black universities be targeted by Charlie Kirk supporters. And of course, Donald Trump is attacking trans people. We saw Brian Kilmeade say that we should euthanize the homeless, political violence, mind you, and there have been shootings at homeless encampments because of it. Why isn't he fired? This is what we should be saying. This is what we should be calling out, especially when J.D. Vance is trying to spin his bullshit, the sack of shit he is. Sorry for the language, it's just true. And what he said right here has been blown up by this new report about the alleged assailant. I want to take a look.
So the Democrats and the media are preaching unity. They're saying there's an equal amount of violence on both sides, and we need to all just lower the temperature and come together. You say?
It's statistically absolutely bonkers. The idea that left-wing violence and right-wing violence in 2025 in America are equal, it's preposterous. The statistics don't bear it out, Jesse. You ask what percentage of political liberals believe that political violence is sometimes justified? It's about 1 in 4. If you ask young conservatives that same question, it's about 1 in 25, which, by the way, is still too high.
Right.
It should be 0, but the problem is much bigger and much more malignant on the far left. I saw something, maybe it was the ADL or one of these ridiculous organizations that said that right-wing violence is as common as left-wing violence. And then you go and look at the data and you say, what is it that you're causing right-wing violence? One of the things that they called right-wing violence is literally a gang of black Americans beating up on a Mexican guy. Well, yeah, if you categorize everything under the sun as right-wing violence, you can make your point for you, but that's BS. Nobody's buying it. Look at the way they're celebrating Charlie Kirk's.
This is why they want us quiet. Again, I know it seems like all they want to do is talk about Charlie Kirk, but they're not actually talking about Charlie Kirk. They're talking about exploiting his death. They're talking with these fake statistics, these false narratives, saying that the alleged assailant was some left-wing radicalized by, I don't know what, Rachel Maddow? If the left could radicalize people so much so to carry out these actions, I think we would have radicalized people enough to turn out and vote for Kamala Kamala Harris, which I think the country has now realized maybe you guys should have done. But the real truth behind the political ideology of this alleged assailant, while it is still becoming more clear every day, certainly is not in the mold that J.D. Vance has tried to make, because we have a new report out of Bloomberg that just shows this was not someone who hated Donald Trump. Charlie Kirk killer Tyler Robinson used Donald Trump as gaming alias on stream, Bloomberg. The kid who was playing video games constantly used what is referred to as his gamer tag, the name that you're referred to when you're playing video games, as Donald Trump. It was Donald Trump. Now, I fucking hate Donald Trump. I can sure as shit tell you that I wouldn't want anything, even as a joke, associated with Donald Trump. And that's what his name was. That's what his alias was. And you're telling me that the kid who we certainly know loved playing video games and did it all the time, was radicalized to hate Donald Trump so much, but still continued to use the alias Donald Trump? And there was nothing negative about Donald Trump. It's not like Donald Trump sucks or, fat-faced J.D. Vance. It wasn't an ugly photo of him blown up. No. It was just Donald Trump. So I know we don't have any information about how he voted. It seems like he hasn't voted. He certainly was a registered independent. We do know that much. I think we should call out the stories that are trying to push that he was a registered Republican. That was a different individual by the same name. We need to be honest brokers here. But you cannot tell me all of the fake J.D. Vance statistics hold anything up against this very clear fact, which is that he grew up in a MAGA family. His very grandmother said she didn't even know a Democrat. I think that extends to her grandson. And they're just trying to push this bullshit narrative. But again, this is what they want to focus on. They want to focus on their attacks of people of color. They want to focus on their attacks of trans people. And they're trying to do it by pretending that Charlie Kirk was someone that he wasn't. But if you want to know who Charlie Kirk was, just ask Charlie Kirk, which is something clearly J.D. Vance didn't do, as we can see in these clips right here.
The writer accuses Charlie of saying, and I quote, "Black women do not have brain processing power to be taken seriously." But if you go and watch the clip, the very clip she links to, you realize he never said anything like that. He never uttered those words.
If we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously.
How on God's green earth are you going to ask any black woman or any person, any self-respecting individual who themselves is not a bigot, to say, well, Charlie Kirk, he was at least out there. He was in the arena. He was having conversations. That's not a conversation. Spouting off your bigotry, attacking black women, targeting trans people, directing your supporters to harass black people doing their jobs. How many black pilots do you think had to take shit every day after working their asses off to keep us safe in the sky? How many black pilots do you think were harassed because of Charlie Kirk's bullshit? How many, let's not even do specific industry. How many people thought that they had a permission structure to go to a workplace and harass a black woman just trying to do her job because of Charlie Kirk? That is not politics. That is not discussion. That is trying to animate the worst elements of people, and mind you, for profit. I know there are so many talking about the success that Charlie Kirk had building a political movement share. But ultimately, this was about profit. This was about making money, which is always what it's about with these people. They are so self-interested. They're gross. They're gross people. The grift continues. By the way, his widow is grifting, sending out email blasts to raise money. Doesn't really seem like you care that much. Seems like there's some other focuses. I'll leave that there, though. But that's what these people want to do. So forget it. Forget the apology from us. Forget the condemnation from liberals. I'm not having it. This is a disgusting human being. Do I condemn political violence? Do I condemn gun violence? Have you seen what we talk about on this show? Have you seen the way that I vote, who I support, what I care about? I live that condemnation. I don't have to spin it up in some phony statement. I don't. Because there is no record of me pardoning January 6th insurrectionists or cheering it on, JD. There's not. So I don't really think that I have to go on the record when the record's pretty damn clear. And the record right now is that Donald Trump wants to keep us quiet. Greg Kazar called that out here.
Let's just say it plain and simple. President Trump is abusing the vast powers of the federal government to shut down people who dare disagree with him. From universities to law firms to nonprofits to journalists, Trump is abusing his power and violating the First Amendment daily to punish anyone who does not line up behind his agenda. That would be wrong no matter which party did it, no matter who the president was. So I'm thankful to my colleagues who are putting together this legislation to protect churches and nonprofits, newspapers, magazines, colleges, workers, students from any president who tries to target his political opponents, shred our Constitution, and disgrace our values in the process. We are in the biggest free speech crisis this country has faced since the McCarthy era. The murder of Charlie Kirk was a horrific crime, and it's clear that Trump wants to hijack that horrific crime to silence anyone who disagrees with the president about any issue. While Mr. Kirk's tragic murder is new, Trump's desire to shut down all opposition is not. From the beginning of his administration, Trump has tried to go after anyone who dares question him. And as we saw last night, far too many billionaires and corporate-owned media companies are bending the knee.
The operation couldn't be more obvious. We know what their intentions are. We know they want to silence us, which is why we cannot be silenced, why we have to speak out, why I'm going to continue to on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And feel free to check out my interview with Governor Wes Moore. It was a lot of fun. It's a little bit of a nicer hang than some of the topics we've been covering, and I'd appreciate you checking it out. Keep on fighting. Don't let anyone silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.